right, welcome everybody. Welcome back. It's Mr. Flaxis here, and today we're talking about the 1920s and Prohibition and changes for women. So what I mean by changes for women, I'm talking about your favorite and mine, flappers. But first things first, let's talk about Prohibition. Look at those photos. You can probably guess what they're doing in there. They're dumping out all the booze. And if you know like I know, you could probably guess this did not work. And I'm going to tell you why it did not work. All right. So, Prohibition. What is it? How did it start? Well, it started in the progressive movement. You got to remember, late 1800s, people were realizing with the progressive movement that, hey, maybe we could improve on life. Things are going pretty good, but I think I want to make things better. Yes, that's my southern accent. And no, I am not from the South, but I do it pretty good. All right, so the 1800s, progressive, they're moving. All right, they're reforming society. And one of these ideas of way to improve society is to improve morality. That's it, right. Improve the morals of people. And how do they want to do that? Create something called prohibition or banning of alcohol. That's right. Banning of alcohol. Today, in the United States, you have to be 21 to drink, 21 to buy your booze. But back in these days, from around right after World War I to the beginning of the Great Depression, alcohol was illegal. And it starts mainly with protests against alcohol or the temperance movement. Now, I know personally a little bit about the temperance movement because, fun fact, my college is where a temperance movement actually started. Not the big one, but, a little one. And now my college has like 10 bars. But anyways, so why are people so against alcohol? Well, you got to remember how people drank back in the 1800s. It's a lot different than today. All right, so back in the 1800s, where were people going to drink? They were going to the bar. Now, the bar wasn't called the bar back then, obviously. By the way, bar means for beer and alcohol lounge. That's what it means. So back in the 1800s, they called it the saloon. And why was the saloon so important? Well, if you went into a town, the saloon was the place where everything was happening. If you wanted to go get a job, you went to the saloon. If you wanted to go to vote, you went to the saloon. Now, who was going to the saloon? Now, I know today we talk about, you've probably seen in a bar, men, women, they're drinking, they're having a good time. Not before Prohibition. It was mainly men. There were some women there. Don't get me wrong. There were some women of ill repute, but for the most part, it was mostly men. And what are they drinking? Whiskey. Straight. Now, if you don't know anything about whiskey, drinking it straight, just the thought of that makes my chest hurt and burn because So people are realizing that these saloons, they're pretty strong. We got strong bars. So people were coming home, and they were coming home drunk. Now, there's different types of drunk people. There's angry drunks, and there was a lot of angry drunks. And there was also a lot of people coming home and, doing bad things and spending all their day at the saloon. This on top of women with numerous immigration. You had a lot of people coming from Germany, Italy, where alcohol is a lot more bigger. And people start realizing, like, hey, maybe America has an alcohol problem. Maybe we're drinking too much. Which I think they were. So we start seeing protests like in this political cartoon. Now, I'm going to break down this political cartoon because a lot of you that are watching this have no idea what they're talking about. So, Han Rule. What does that mean? Han is just another name for German back in this time. In other words, they were blaming the Germans. They were blaming German immigrants for bringing in the booze. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Mr. Flag, why are they blaming the Germans? Hello, Germans, beer. I'll give you one example of German beer. You probably all heard of it. Budweiser, Bud Light, Budweiser, German. So they're blaming, and because of all this, they're blaming alcohol for all the world's problems. Now, does alcohol cause all the world's problems? Obviously, no. But the idea is maybe if we ban alcohol, some of these problems that we're seeing in this political cartoon might go away. Now, as historians, you know that's probably not going to happen, but that's a little foreshadowing. So they're slowly starting to protest all this alcohol. You have the vote dry movement. Vote dry obviously means no, vote for no alcohol in the town. And there are still some towns today that are still dry. Believe it or not. I've yet to go to one. I love this protest picture right here. This is my favorite for when I'm talking about prohibition. I'm talking about primary sources from back then. I love this. Lips that touch liquor shall not touch ours. In other words, you better not come home drunk. Oh, no, you did not. Oh, no, you did not. No, you did not. You are not going. You will not come home drunk. All right, so what really makes prohibition go off is something called the 18th Amendment. Later on, the Volstead Act, which goes in a little bit more detail what you can and can't do with alcohol, but more on that later. So, 18th Amendment. Alcohol is now illegal. It's illegal to sell it. They didn't say illegal to consume it, just illegal to sell it. So all of a sudden, all these saloons shut down. They go from making beer to some of them start making milkshakes. But most of them shut down. Most of the plants shut down. So now alcohol is illegal. Now, my question to you is that going to stop anybody? Let's see. No, it ain't going to stop anybody. As soon as Congress, as soon as they get it done, they got a guy in a green hat selling booze in Congress the next day. As soon as the lawmakers pass this law, they're realizing, like, well, just because it's illegal doesn't mean I'm not going to stop drinking. Are you going to stop drinking? And we see so much crime happen just because you make alcohol illegal. Because when people want something, they're willing to pay for it. All right? And now where are they going to get this illegal booze? Well, you got guys running it, bootleggers. In other words, people made a lot of money selling illegal booze, selling it on the black market. And where would they go? They would go, where would they bring all this alcohol so where people can find it? The speakeasy, the secret bar. You probably heard of a speakeasy before. You probably heard of the secret knock. There's plenty of different passwords, but this is my favorite secret knock to get in there. Because again, they didn't want anybody in there because if the cops show up, oh man, it ain't gonna happen. Here's the secret knock that I've heard of the speakeasy. That's right, speakeasy, secret bar, bum bum bum. So it's secret, so it's going to change the way people drink. Now you probably wonder yourself, why would it change the way you drink? Well, because it changes the way to drink. Because now in these speakeasies, men and women were all going to the bar because they knew this is the only place in town with alcohol. It's not like you can go to the store and buy it. Now, there are some exceptions. Catholic Church was allowed to keep a little bit of wine. And let's say you really want alcohol. You could go to your doctor and you could say, hey, doc, I got an arm injury. I need some booze. And he would write you a prescription for alcohol. That's right. Just like you go to the doctors for cough syrup, you could go to the doctor to get a prescription for booze. Now, if you see this picture, now you got to remember now, it's illegal. Now, the government has some that you can use for medical or church purposes, but for the most part, it's illegally made or imported, mainly imported from Canada and Mexico. Now, if you look at this picture, this guy is making his homemade booze. By the way, this is where NASCAR gets its start from. They were hauling illegal booze in their cars. They were driving around. They were moonshiners. That's where NASCAR gets its start. Now, the problem with making illegal booze, if you make that thing too strong, you are going to go blind. That did happen. There was also some alcohol that was passed by the government that cause a lot of problems, but that's a whole other conspiracy. All right, so prohibition, it's big. You got prohibition, you got gangsters, people making a lot of money selling illegal booze. And the most famous one, most people know, Al Capone. He makes a killing on the black market, literally and figuratively. He kills off a lot of his competition. Now, You probably heard, well, Al Capone, did he ever go to jail? Well, they get him for jail, but not for illegal booze. They get him for one thing and one thing only. There he is. There's that handsome guy. By the way, goes to Alcatraz, eventually dies in prison. But what do they get him for? The one thing, that one word that freaks every adult out. Taxes. That's right. They got him for tax fraud because the government is going to get their money or die trying. Not really die trying. That was just a kid. All right. So yes, he goes to jail for tax evasion because he's using his illegal booze. He's using the money for that for his other businesses. And if the government catches you playing around with taxes, they're going to get you. Oh yeah, they're going to get you. Now, while all this is going on, women are changing. Because in 1919, well, 1920, depends on who you ask, women get the right to vote with the 19th Amendment. And before this, right before this, women were going to work in factories. So all of a sudden, you got prohibition, you got the 19th Amendment. Women feel more independent, so they're going out. They're breaking the norms, all right? If you've ever seen a picture of a woman dressed in the 1800s, big dress, girdle, all dressed to the nines, they're not showing any skin. They're not drinking, they're not smoking, not out in public, at least. The 20s, they are. And they even develop a nickname for these girls based on the way they dress and the way they act. They're called flappers. And if you've ever seen the movie Great Gatsby or read the book, I'm talking about those women, the flappers. Now, I know today we think about, wearing a dress, no big deal. Showing legs in the 1920s was a big deal. It was a big, no, can't be doing that. And what are they going out to? Well, they're going out and drinking, they're going out smoking, but they're also dancing to jazz music. They're dancing to Charlton. Now, I can try to dance for you, but ask Mrs. Flag. I got 2 left feet. All right, so flappers, right? Here they are. Look at the way they're dressed. Look at those gorgeous gals, and they're breaking the norm. Because you got to remember, before this, the idea of women going out and dressing like this was a big no-no. They were like, oh, Lord, what are you doing? You can't be dressing like that. Bless their heart. All right, so that's a little bit about Prohibition and the Flappers. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. More content is coming for you.